Hello. So, we're going to continue with James chapter 1. And we're going to start with verse 5. So, if you'll go listen to yesterday's recording, all I covered was the first 4 verses. But it was inspiring for me to talk about. I hope it was inspiring to listen to. But we were talking about patience, and the whole reason you need patience is because you're going through a trial. Your faith is being tested. And so verse 5 says, if any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God that giveth to all men liberally and upbraideth not, it shall be given him. You know, when you are in the middle of a fiery trial, when the heat is on, the pressure is on, you and we all can really blow it with our relationships, with how we speak to people, with how we react, respond. They say hurt people. And that's true. And when you are hurt by way of going through a trial, we're going to continue reading the rest of James. James doesn't excuse us. James is not a 2023 modern person, psychologist saying hurt people. We all understand. No, James gets real serious about the fact that we are needing to exhibit patience. And because we need to exhibit patience, we also have to ask for wisdom. If you lack wisdom, let him ask of God that giveth to all men liberally, and upbraideth not. Upbraideth, I didn't really know what this word meant. It means to cast in one's teeth. So he's saying God is not going to throw it in your face. God's not going to throw your failure in your face. He's not going to throw it in your face that you've done something wrong. If you've responded because you're going through a trial and somebody's come up to you and they've asked for things, or they've suggested things, or whatever it is, whatever the situation may be, and you've realized I responded not in a way that I want to live up to. Well, ask the Lord for wisdom, and God's not going to throw it in your face that you may or may not have responded the way you wanted to. And not only if you lack wisdom, ask God for wisdom, but ask in faith, nothing wavering. Now, this was an eye-opener for me, nothing wavering, because I have always thought of the word wavering as being like not falling one way or the other, just kind of like trying to figure out if it's even stable, nothing wavering. I've always thought that wavering meant that you weren't stable, but wavering is much more dramatic than that. Wavering means to separate, to prefer. So we're not talking about the fact that we're unstable. We're saying, no, I prefer one or the other. This wavering means you've got a decision that you've made to withdraw from, to desert, to separate oneself in a hostile spirit, to be at variance with oneself, hesitate, doubt. And so this is what we've got to be careful of. We cannot be at variance with oneself. We can't be hesitating. We can't be doubting. We've got to ask in faith, and do not be doubting. Do not be in a situation where you're unplugging from the Lord, unplugging from faith, nothing wavering, because the person that wavers, the person that separates, the person that prefers one side or the other. And in this case, we're clearly talking about preferring the wrong side. He that wavers, he that deserts his faith or deserts the Lord, is like a wave of the sea driven with the wind and tossed. So we're talking about when we're talking about a wave of the sea driven with the wind and tossed, we're talking about a boat that's being flopped around because of the storm that's going on. What storm? These diverse temptations that we've read about. Please go back and listen to yesterday's recording. And we can go through life feeling emotionally seasick, spiritually seasick. For let not that man think that he shall receive anything of the Lord. If we're in a place where we are wavering because we're going through temptations, because patience means standing firm and enduring, and if we've in the middle of our stance, if we have been lacking wisdom, and we have wavered and separated ourselves from things of faith, we have deserted our ministry, we have separated ourselves with a hostile spirit from our leadership or from the things that God's calling us to, then we're going to find ourselves trying to go through life, trying to be mothers or wives or friends or sisters in a seasick state. And we're not going to be able to receive anything of the Lord in that state. Because a double-minded man, what is double-minded? This wavering, where we're going this way or that way. We're preferring this, and then the next day we're preferring that. We're deserting this one day, and then we're deserting that the next day. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. In all his ways. And so James, even though it is true that when our patience is being tested, when our faith is being tried, in James chapter 1 verse 3, when our faith is being tried, it is true that we're in a difficult state. We're having to endure, and we're letting patience have her perfect work. And so yes, we do fall under the definition of hurt people. And yet, James is saying a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. And he goes on to explain something that is just the case of life. Let the brother of low degree rejoice in that he is exalted. So there's going to come a time when you are, even though you are in a state of low degree, you're going to be exalted. And there's also going to come a time that the rich, he's going to be made low. Because as the flower of the grass, he shall pass away. For the sun is no sooner risen with a burning heat, but it withereth the grass, and the flower thereof falleth, and the grace of the fashion of it perisheth. What is this saying? This is saying, to everything there is a purpose, and a time to every purpose under the heavens. To everything there is a season. There is a time for everything. There's going to be a time when you are feeling abundance, and there's going to be a time when you are feeling made low. Life happens. And so because this is going to happen, don't be a double-minded man. Be patient. When your faith is tried, be dependable, be patient. Please go back and listen to that definition of patience yesterday. Blessed is the man that endures temptation. Endures is patience. Blessed is the man that endures temptation. For when he is tried, he shall receive the crown of life, which the Lord has promised to them that love him. This word blessed is a unique word that means happy. It's a Greek word that means happy. In fact, when you read Matthew chapter 5, let's go look at Matthew 5 quickly here. See, there's Romans, Acts, Matthew, where are we at here? Matthew 4. Let's look at Matthew 5. Okay, Matthew 5, we typically call this the Sermon on the Mount. We also call it the Beatitudes. Blessed are the poor in spirit. This word blessed means happy. How in the world is Jesus saying happy are the poor in spirit? How are they happy if they're poor in spirit? Blessed are they that mourn. How are they happy if they're mourning? Hello? They're mourning. How are you saying they're happy? Blessed are the meek. Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness. How is it that you are in a state of hunger and thirsting and you're calling yourself happy? Because the outcome of these is, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven, for they shall be comforted, for they shall inherit the earth. But you're going to have to endure with patience. You're going to have to endure the temptation so that you can enjoy the state of blessed, the state of happy. James 13 through 15. This is a situation where temptation is a discovery of yourself. Let no man say when he is tempted, I am tempted of God. For God cannot be tempted with evil, neither tempteth he any man. You see, God doesn't have to be the one putting you in the fire. God was not the one putting Job through the things he was going through. God, there is no reason for God to tempt anybody. The course of nature is enough temptation, and you're going to have to look at yesterday's recording to see what temptation we're talking about. God does not have to tempt you. God does not tempt anybody, because the course of life in itself will tempt you. Satan of himself will tempt you. And also, but every man is tempted when he is drawn away of his own lust or desires. It's our own desires that entices us. It's our own desires. This is what the drug addict deals with. This is what the alcoholic deals with. This is what the person who does not want to display any self-discipline, self-control. They do not want to operate in patience at all. They desire something. They want it here. They want it now. And they are enticed. And when they allow that lust to be conceived, it brings forth sin. And when sin is finished, it brings forth death. And so when we are feeling these desires, these lusts, it's not God. It is your own desires. Sometimes these are, I have seen people create their lust. They perhaps never liked their first few drinks, but they kept drinking, and then it wasn't long before they were alcoholic, or they kept smoking, or they started looking up porn, and they created an appetite themselves. It was their own lust. And, you know, my word, we can talk about shopping. We can talk about eating food. We can talk about pride, all of these things that can cause us to fail. Every man is tempted when he is drawn away of his own lust. It's our own desires, and we're enticed by our own desires. And if we give in to them, that's when lust is conceived, and it brings forth sin. And sin, when it is finished, it brings forth death. When in the story of Cain and Abel, when Cain offered his sacrifice and the Lord rejected it, and Abel offered his sacrifice and the Lord accepted it, the first thing that happened here is that Cain got angry with Abel. And that was his own lust, his own desire. He was angry of his own pride. And the Lord came to him and said, why are you like this? Don't you understand that sin lies at the door? When lust hath conceived, it brings forth sin. And so this is what we see in the case of Cain with Abel. And God warns him. God says to Cain, look, go make things right. All you've got to do is make the right offering and all is going to be well. But Cain was so full of pride that he couldn't bring himself to admit and to accept that what he had determined was a good enough sacrifice actually wasn't a good enough sacrifice. And so his own lust was conceived, and indeed, Cain brought forth sin. He killed sin. When it was finished, it brought forth death. He killed Abel. Do not err, my beloved brethren. Do not err. And so be patient when you're being tempted, when you're being drawn away of your own lust, when you're being enticed, when you're being tempted, be patient. Let patience have her perfect work, that ye may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing. Please go look at yesterday's recording. Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above. Now, this is very interesting. Usually, when we quote this, we say every good and perfect gift is from above and cometh down from the Father of lights. That's usually what we say. Every good and perfect gift. But this says every good gift and every perfect gift is from above. So I had to go see why it was saying it repeatedly. And it was saying it repeatedly because this first word gift in the Greek is the word dosis. And it means giving, like a gift. So every good gift, as we think of a gift, and every perfect, this word perfect is just like this one up here from yesterday's recording. It means complete, entire, mature. Every good gift is, where's the verse at? James 1:17. Every good gift and every perfect or entire, complete gift. This word gift is a completely different Greek word, and it is dorima. And this word gift means bounty. So every good gift, every small thing that comes, and every entire bounty gift that comes, it's from above. It comes down from the Father of lights, who is God, with whom is no variableness, neither shadow of turning. This was very interesting. Once I realized this gift wasn't as simple as I my modern English understood it to be, then I had to start looking up all the Greek words in here. And with whom there is no variableness, this means changing, neither shadow of turning. This turning is figurative of a revolution. It's actually a very archaic word. The Strong's dictionary was saying, Strong's concordance was saying, and it was saying it comes from a word that is like a troop of soldiers, a lot of men. And so these gifts from God, if we are patient, then every good and every perfect gift is from above. It's from God, and God does not change. There is no variableness, neither shadow of turning. God's not going to become like a army troop and start a revolution on you. He is not going to change his mind, turn around, and destroy you. Of his own will, this is the message of faith. Okay, so you're going through these things, right? you're going through all of these things that is requiring patience, and you are just dealing with life that does you like it does, like sun does grass. The sun comes out and scorches the grass and makes it brown and fade away. And so you're going through these things. You're standing and you're not giving in to your own lust, right? So James says, of his own will begat he us with the word of truth. So God designed us as Christians. He begat us. We started. We had no beginning. We were tossed about with every wind of doctrine, and he begat us. We were born again of water and of the Spirit with the word of truth. Why did he begat us? That means we've had a beginning, a new start. Why did he do that with the word of truth? That we should be a kind of first fruits of his creatures. Y'all, creatures. This word creatures is talking about all the creatures. The little mice in the field. We are the first fruits of his creatures. I'm getting back to first fruits, but let's talk about creatures for just a second so you can understand why you need to have patience, why you don't need to just lay over and die with the phrase, hurt people. And you're just going to have to deal with me hurting you because I'm going through the trial of my life. No. James is saying, don't be like that. Because when you were born again, when he begat you with the word of truth, that you would be a kind of first fruits of his creatures, the mice of the field. How about horses? Well, that's a pretty majestic creature. What other creature can we think of that God created? Oh my goodness, the sea life, ocean life, those are pretty amazing creatures. But guess what other creatures the Lord created? He created supernatural beings that we call angels. He created supernatural beings that we read about throughout the book of Revelation and throughout Ezekiel. Oh my goodness. Now, let's look at the word first fruits. Oh, so usually when we see first fruits, we usually define that as firstlings. We see that often as a matter of fact, Abel brought the first of his flock. He brought a firstling. And that's what, in the law of Moses, they are asked to bring as an offering, the firstling of your flock. Okay, that means the first one born. And then first portion. First fruits is often defined as first portion. So you make bread and you take off the first portion, and that's special. Who you serve first. When you lay out a dinner and who you serve first is the honored guest. So the first portion. But this definition of first fruits, oh, Holy Ghost, help me right now. It goes beyond that. This word first fruits literally means persons superior in excellence. Y'all. Oh, hallelujah. I'm coming out of my skin right now. You have been begat with the word of truth that we should be a kind of superior in excellence of his creatures. This is why James is saying, don't waver. Oh, saint of God, stop going back and forth. Oh, saint of of God, woman of God, stop going in and out of your holiness. Oh, woman of God, stop going in and out of your good attitude based on your PMS. Oh, woman of God, stop it right now. Be patient, endure, let patience have her perfect work. Why? Because God of his own, he has begat us with the word of truth. What's his purpose of making us born again? That we should be a kind of superior in excellence of his creatures. And because of this, the first word of verse 19, wherefore, that means because you have been begat with the word of truth, my beloved brethren and sisters, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath. When you're going through a trial and you're having to exhibit so much patience, this needs to be your habit right here. Be swift to hear. Be swift to hear. That means when somebody says something to you that makes you angry, or that hurts your feelings, or that makes you high and creative, whatever is the first thing you hear, if you know you're in the middle of a trial, be swift to hear, slow to speak, and slow to wrath. For the wrath of man worketh not the righteousness of God. Here God is. He has created you by the word of truth. You've been born again, and the purpose of you being born again is to be superior in excellence. And if you let wrath work, that means the righteousness of God is not able to do the work. Wherefore, lay apart all filthiness and all superfluity of naughtiness. Now let's break this down right here. Naughtiness. Now, in our modern word, English, we tend to use the word naughty as kind of meaning cute. You know, you're doing something that's not supposed to happen, but it's cute. We're wrapping it in a cute package. But this does not mean that. The King James version of the word naughtiness means malice, ill will, desire to injure. Desire to injure. And filthiness means what we understand it to mean. It means filthy or defile. And superfluity, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. It means abundance, residue. Specifically, residue remaining from his state prior to conversion. So, because this naughtiness is a possibility, lay apart from it, get away from it, and receive people with meekness. I mean, not people, receive with meekness the engrafted word, engrafted meaning added into, the engrafted word, which is able to save your souls. So here you are in the middle of a trial, in the middle of difficulty, and you've had the honor and the privilege of the engrafted word coming into you. Receive that with meekness. This is the behavior you want to take. Swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath. Why do you need to be slow to wrath? Because the wrath of man works not the righteousness of God. And the wrath of man leads to malice that wants to injure people, that wants to hurt people. And it's a residue that's left over from before you were born again. And in fact, it's why you're going through the trial that is making the gold, bringing out the gold and separating it from the residue, from the stuff. Be ye doers of the word and not hearers only, deceiving your own selves. For if any be a hearer of the word and not a doer, he is like a man who looks at himself in a glass. In other words, he looks at himself in a mirror. He sees himself in that mirror and he goes away and immediately forgets what he looked like in that mirror. But whoever looks into the perfect law of liberty, what is the perfect law of liberty? The perfect law of liberty is the word of truth, the doctrine of God. But whoever looks into the law of liberty and continues therein, and is not a forgetful hearer, but once you leave church, once you leave Bible study, you are a doer of the work that you heard taught about. You are a doer of the work that you heard explained. When you are a doer of the work, this man shall be blessed in his deed. This word blessed is again happy. You will be happy in that deed. And we're almost through here with the first chapter of James. If any man among you seem to be religious, religious means fear and worship of God, and bridles not his tongue. Okay? So don't forget, you're in the middle of a fiery trial. And clearly we're talking about someone saying or doing something that sets you off, or else we wouldn't have needed to spend all this time over here talking about wrath and not getting mad at people. Okay? So, if you bridle not your tongue, but deceives his own heart, this man's religion, which means religious discipline, is vain. If we bridle not our tongue when we're going through a difficult time, and instead we say, well, we're allowed to hurt people because we're hurting right now. Well, they're just going to have to put up with it because I'm in a very painful situation. If you're trying to appease the wrath that you released, you are deceiving your own heart, and your religion is in vain. Pure religion and undefiled before God and the Father is this. What is pure religion? To visit the fatherless and widows in their affliction, and to keep himself unspotted from the world. To keep himself unspotted from the world. This can go along with the scripture, let us lay aside every weight and the sin that does so easily beset us. Keep himself unspotted from the world. But it's more than just keep yourself away from worldly pleasures, worldly things, looking like the world, acting like the world. No, even in the midst of your fiery trial, in your own trial, go take care of others. Take care of the fatherless. Take care of the widows in their affliction. And here's the thing. If you will do that, then the doer of the work, this man shall be blessed in his deed, shall be happy. Oh, I love you. God bless you. Thank you for, I love you. I just realized I only got 2 fingers in there. Thank you for joining me today. You can do this. If you're in the middle of a fiery trial, you can do this. God bless. Bye-bye.